Good morning, friends. I'm going to see if I can make shorter movies because one of the last ones I made took like 2 hours to upload. Because the data has to be collected and shrunk and then forced through a phone line that goes somewhere up to like a spaceship. and and then it gets downloaded through the cloud into the container of YouTube, which is a big container. And I don't know how any of that works, but it seems to work. I seem to be able to make these videos, but if I just sit here and do this, the video gets very long. It takes a long time to upload. So let's see if I can find the notes I made for this video. Okay. Whoops, sorry. I just bumped the cat in the head because she was returning to lie back down on my lap while I make this video. But that's a side note. Okay. I got an early wake-up call from the universe just now. And when I was writing that, it was around 1:30, so it was basically 3 hours ago. Which was good because it allowed me to wake up from the horror dream about an Airbnb. The children's song about Mary Lee keeps playing in my mind. Rowing my boat. Life is but a dream. Or is it life is a but dream? Currently, pun intended, I'm awakening to my projections of my inner reality onto my outer reality. And I'm still working on module 2 from the online transparent communication course with Thomas Hubel that was recorded in 2016, right in the middle of my 2 British grandchildren's birth of 2015 and 2017. Oh, I wrote 16, I was wrong. 2015 and 2017. So the video was made right between their births. And it turns out that in the Mayan calendar, one of my grandchildren is a white wizard, which is about imagining better realities. And the other is a red dragon, like her grandfather, which is about birthing new realities. So think of a chess set and think of these 2 beings who have incarnated into the earth, one as a white wizard imagining better realities, and the other as a red dragon birthing new realities. Quite a powerful combo. And then I wrote a good combo pack. Imagine it and she will build it. So it's now 3 a.m. in my writing. And I am sitting upstairs in a very quiet house with a cat on my lap, and that's still the case. I'm still in a very quiet house with a cat on my lap, even though the house is less quiet than it was when I wrote that, because So she, being the cat, has promised to stop rubbing her face against my computer if I will face the computer light away from where she is sleeping on my lap. And I call it having a hired grounding gun on board the ship of shifts, so I can journal as the seas rise. So I'm referring to having a cat. It's like a hired grounder. All you gotta do is just feed them on a regular basis. And anytime you need the energies you're working with released and integrated, a cat will show up to do it, because that's their job. And all you need to do is feed them fairly continuously and give them a comfortable place to sleep and keep their water and homeopathic remedies and all sorts of elixirs to keep them healthy for a longer period of time so they can keep working for you. It's kind of like my projection of the world. It's like, just keep enough of them alive so they can create stuff for you. And that's not my perception of reality. That's just one projection of how I've seen the world. Like, keep them alive if you need them, and when there's too many of them, just have a war. get rid of a bunch of them. It'd probably be good to get rid of that whole projection of just have a war, to get rid of a bunch of people and make some of the people at the top make more money by selling items related to war and jacking the price of oil up through stopping it being delivered so that later on, when they allow it to be delivered, it'll be much more expensive. And what are we going to do about it? So all these projections of reality. So that's what I'm thinking about. And I might talk about it in a little bit. And then I wrote, I haven't checked what today is in my Mayan calendar, yet I seem to recall it being a white wizard day. And then I wrote, I'll have to check. Yes, it is a white cosmic wizard day. And the white wizard is related to the solar plexus chakra, which is related to releasing stored fear. And then I wrote, sheesh, who's still doing that? Releasing stored fear. And then my little hand went up and said, me. I'm still doing that. I'm still releasing stored fear. But the cosmic tone is the lunar tone related to enduring, transcending, and presence. Well, it has seemed that I have been enduring a lot lately. And come to feel of it, I've also been transcending. And then I put transcending. And becoming more present. Presence. Presencing. Presencing is a verb about presence. It's an active state, continually active state of being present, being aware of your presence, and in activity, being aware of your presence, we could say we are presencing. So I looked up these words because I have, I've been working with this Mayan calendar for actively like this for 20 years, inactively for 40 years. I've been aware of it since the 80s, and it's the 20s. And yeah, So I've been aware of the mind calendar for 40 years, and I've been actively working with it for 20. But sometimes I'll come across these words like endure, transcend, presence, and I feel like I should look those up. So I did, for you and me. So, and some of it might be a little confusing because I don't know what this particular word means. I use it anyway. So to endure. So the word endure is an intransitive verb. And I just didn't feel like looking up what an intransitive verb is. I mean, in transit means in motion, a state of an act being in motion. So, but when I think about to endure, it's like to hold on to. So it might be a non-transit verb, unless you're on a bus and you're holding on a bus. Then you're in transit and enduring. And I have a friend, a really good friend, who used to take buses and trains and all these things to work. And I just thought of her when I was thinking of in transit. But to endure, which is an intransitive verb, is to carry on through despite hardships. Undergo or suffer, such as endure an Arctic winter. It also means to put up with or tolerate. So, do any of you feel like you've been putting up with, tolerating, basically for the amount of years you've been alive? It is and it isn't a joke. How many of you really literally feel like you've been enduring this life? And then there's a quote. I cannot endure your insolence any longer. And then also, to endure is to continue in existence or last. To stay alive, continue in existence. And the quote is, the example is, buildings that have endured for centuries. So the words were endure, transcend, and presence. So I looked up transcend. And transcend is also an intransitive verb. So it's in motion. So to transcend means to move, and then I'm going to say what they say it means, but I'm just going to say to transcend means to move from one state of consciousness to another. And what their definition that I looked up said was to pass beyond the limits of a category or conception, for instance. So to pass beyond the limits of a category or conception, for instance, or to be greater than, as in quality or intensity, to surpass, to be more intense than your friends. And the quote, the example is, a new film that transcends all her previous efforts. I could go on forever just with that one sentence. And then it also says, transcend is to exist above and independent, and I wrote interdependent, of material experience or the universe. So I think that's a good description of the earth and the humans on the earth. We haven't been separate from the universal consciousness, the universal mind, the source mind, but we've acted as if we are separate from it. That's just my perception, and you may have a different one. And if you have a different one, write it in the comment, because I love different perceptions, and I'm looking at giving up a lot of mine quickly to stay afloat in the river of life. So we've had endure, transcend, and presence. So we're moving out of transcending into the construct of presence, which finally, it's not an intransitive verb, it's a noun. And supposedly, a noun is described as something that you can put in a wheelbarrow, something that exists. But it's interesting to think of it in that way and then to read what it says it is. And so presence is a noun, which is the state or fact of being present. Current existence or occurrence. Occurrence is something that is happening. So in other words, presence is what the experience of what is. That's a Thomas Hübl term, experiencing what is. So then their reference to state or fact of being present is a student's presence in class or the presence of toxins in the blood. And those two kind of go together, a student's presence in class and the presence of toxins in the blood. Both do seem to appear in the same location frequently. And then it also talks about the area immediately surrounding a great personage, especially a sovereign. And then the quote is, in the king's presence, end quote. A great personage. And then there's all sorts of people with placards, no more kings, no more kings. And I think it's all interesting. Okay, so also presence can relate to a person who is present, especially in an impressive way. She was a presence in our lives. I'm loving looking up the meaning of different words. And white wizard, we're back to white wizard again, which is today is the day of the white wizard, is solar tone 14. So we have lunar tone, which is cosmic today, and solar tone, which is tone 14, which is white wizard, which is about the root chakra. And I don't think I look up these words, but it's about enchanting, timelessness, and receptivity. But the quote for white wizard is, untie the past, or its impact will last. Don't worry or hurry to reach the future. It surely will never arrive. And as I write these next words, consider what it might be like to be a child born into this destiny. And won't take much imagination because you are a child born into this destiny. But think about being born into white wizard. So the white wizard represents the power of the jaguar, the shaman, the night seer, the earth wizard, The Earth Wizard says the time is always now. And as the canvas of nature's cycles, you are time. You are the time in which you are the canvas in the time in which nature is painting. You are the canvas of nature's painting or artwork. So I ask, how would you like to be an infant born on this earth as an earth wizard, a white wizard? And sure, a number of you are saying, yes, I'd love being a wizard. And I write, well, that might be true, yet imagine carrying that weight on your shoulders through childhood. And now I ask myself, self, why do you perceive it as a weight on your shoulders and not a gift of the divine? And then I wrote, goodness, it seems sometimes hard to answer these seemingly simple questions. Or maybe it doesn't seem that simple. An excuse might be, I was hypnotically programmed for pessimism. And I might still ask, if you know you were programmed for pessimism, and also know that you have the skills and ability to create a new reality, why might you just keep repeating the same old blah, blah, blah when you could shine a little light upon most subjects? Okay. Looks like I have another post to ponder, to be continued, yet changed. Every step of the path is new. I better quit now because it's 22 minutes long already, and it's been a pleasure, and I can't wait to upload this one.